So is it? Well, joining us right now is a Democratic Congressman, Marc Veasey, who's from the Fort Worth, Texas area. He voted to impeach the president this week. Congressman, happy holidays to you. Thank you for being here on this Saturday morning. So I want to get your reaction to Ivanka Trump's comments right there. Is this all just raw partisan politics?
Oh, God, absolutely not. And I can tell you that this is my fourth term in Congress, and this was the toughest vote, the toughest decision and the saddest decision, really, that I've had to make as a member of Congress, to go down into that well and cast a vote to vote on two articles of impeachment against the President of the United States. I think it's a sad day for the country. It has nothing to do with partisanship whatsoever. We all need to realize that Donald Trump curried favor with a foreign nation and offered them military aid, offered them trips to the White House to investigate his potential political opponent for the 2020 elections. That's unacceptable. And if Hillary Rodham Clinton were president right now and she were running for re-election, Republicans across the country would be livid. And they would want to do the same thing.
So we've gotten some opinions on this earlier in our hour here, but what do you make of Speaker Pelosi's move? Do you think it's a good idea to hold on to these articles?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely think it's a good idea to hold on to these articles. I support her 100%. It's going to be important if the president wants to get this behind him. He needs to tell Mitch McConnell to sit down with Chuck Schumer, and they can sit down wherever they want to. They can go back to D.C. or Kentucky or New York, and they need to work together on what's fair so the process will be transparent and so the American public will feel well served throughout this entire process. I think one of the most disturbing things is that the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, has already said that he's going to be working and coordinating with the White House during the impeachment process. And that's not right. It needs to be independent. It needs to be fair. It needs to be transparent. And he needs to work with the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, to make sure that that happens.
Okay, so, Congressman, there are a couple of things that are still up in the air right now. And I'm curious whether or not Democrats, at least at this point, have come to some sort of consensus on who should be named impeachment managers. Of course, there was all that talk about Justin Amash from Michigan, who's now independent. All of this, of course, once the articles are turned over to the Republican Senate. Who do you think should be some of the managers?
Oh, that's going to be determined by leadership. I don't really have an opinion on who should be the manager.
Would you support Justin Amash being one of them?
I don't know Justin well enough to make that determination.
Okay.
But what I will say is that, in my opinion, it needs to be a fair process. And I think when it's all over with, the American public needs to say, I felt like all the facts were presented to me in a way that I could understand, that were fair, clear, transparent. And that's the most important thing right now. And of course, on the Senate side, that's just not happening. And I think that's what's more disturbing to me over who's going to be the manager.
All right. So, Congressman, do you think ultimately that going through this process, when it comes down to it in 2020, in November, this will help or hurt the party? I know, obviously, the president's side of things and at the White House, they've been touting that that'll actually help their side of things.
Right now, it's showing that a clear majority of Americans actually support the president being impeached. I think the last poll that I saw had it at about 53%. But to me, that's not what's important. What's important is that we know the truth about what happened and that we send a message that whoever the president of the United States happens to be, whether they're Democrat or Republican, that you cannot trade military aid. You cannot say, hey, you can come chill at the White House with me and we'll give you millions of dollars if you help undermine our election system. It's against everything that the Constitution is all about. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that that message is sent, that this can never, ever happen again.
Hey, Congressman, the 7-7 Dallas Cowboys are facing the 7-7 Eagles this weekend. You willing to bet that the Eagles will be able to beat the Cowboys?
No, I'm pretty sure that the Cowboys are going to win. We bested the Eagles already earlier this season. Dak is looking pretty good. I think the running game is picking back up. Zeke is eating up some yards. So I think we're going to be victorious. But The NFC East has been like pretty tough to look at,
Whoa.
even for my beloved America's team, the Dallas
Holy
Cowboys.
cow.
The NFC East has been awful.
That's a hot take.
It's been awful.
Wow, you know the full team. You know they're looking for a new coach possibly soon. So maybe they could consider the Congressman Marc Veasey there to take over for Jason Garrett if they do not win tomorrow. We'll take your word on it. Thank you.
Remember that,
Hey,
Congressman.
thanks, guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays.